Take us back to that moment when you finally got into one of the most influential offices in Kenya.
It was very interesting, but also very tense at that time. Remember, I came in under extraordinary circumstances. The people I see in front of me here had a lot of concerns, raised so loudly. And so in the process, even without preparing yourself, you hear that you are going to be appointed to the docket, which probably costs the issues that are being debated and being debated loudly. So you really don't know whether to take up the appointment. And you see, even before the appointment is made, your phone is jammed with unasalimiwa.
The moment the nomination is made.
Not yet made. So you don't know whether to take it or not. And they're telling you are betraying us, and you're also looking at your country, and you're asking yourself, we are over 50 million Kenyans.
Yes.
And with all these problems, I'm the only one that has been picked to help maybe bring sanity. Do I lose out on this, or do I take it up? Will it be a betrayal or no? So it was, in a nutshell, a hard decision. But I think I'm proud that I took that challenge. And here we are.
Now, your first finance bill, your first budget, how's that experience been for you? Being on the other side, you are a legislator, you go to talk about them when they go to parliament, but now you're actually at the center of creating them.
Let me address that your question by saying that I have been in parliament for some time, 17 years to be exact, and during which time, about 15 years, I've been in the budget committee, budget and appropriations committee. And so it is not a completely new environment for me, but I must say that when now you get into the thick of it and you get to understand what goes on in Kenya's economy in a bit more details, then you realize that the work is not easy. So from last year, I knew the work was not easy even when I was getting into office, but I also promised myself that I would do things differently. And what motivates me into doing it differently is the constitution that we have. I know many of us here are young people. I am a little bit older. I don't want to say I'm old. But at 54, I am reasonably old. Now, some of us have gone through processes in this country. We have seen a lot more than some of you. We were born in another dispensation. You are born, but you are brought up in a totally different dispensation. Long gone were days when everything was concealed, everything was secret around government. In fact, including the budget process was a secret. It was only known largely by the Minister for Finance, who comes on a particular day. And before that day in June, which was not even known which exact day, around May, everybody starts hoarding because, you know, the budget is sirikali. Now, then someone comes and starts making pronouncements, and everybody is glued on TV, and it was one, KBC. Now, that has completely changed with the new constitution. If you read the Bill of Rights, if you read the chapter 35 of our constitution, clearly we are told access to information is a must, is mandatory. Now, with that, the budget process has been opened up. The process starts way last year for this budget that we are going to read in June. It actually started immediately. We closed the 2023-24. Then the process of 25-26 starts, not even 24-25. When you start the year 24-25 financial year, you start on the budget of 25-26. And that was around August, where the cabinet secretary sends out circulars to ministries, circular to ministries, MDS, let me summarize it. Then in September, you get what we call budget review and outlook paper, basically spelling out how we performed the previous financial year in terms of revenue collection and expenditure. Going forward, what are the projections, and then the ceilings for the following year. All this starts, this discussion starts in September. October, November, sector working groups begin public engagement and hearing from people. So what the Treasury does, Sam, is simply give envelope. We give various sectors their resource envelope. Hii ni yako, hii ni yenyu, hii ni yenyu, hii ni yenyu. Then they go and engage. So that is where I ask myself, and that is the essence of us meeting here. The first question I want to ask the youth, because again, this budget is basically yours. How involved were you in this budget process?
Yeah.
Now we start talking at this point, which is at the tail end. How involved were we in this process? This process, how many of you, for example, many I'm sure here are university students. And I'm sure one of the questions you will ask me is, how much have you provided for help? Is that not so? Yes. How much have you provided for scholarship? Because we also have a component called scholarship.
Yeah.
And I will answer you, yes, 41.1 billion is for help. 16.9 billion is for scholarship. But the question is, were you involved at the sector meeting? When the sector for education was meeting, how many of you, your leaders, presented your case and said, as you divide this envelope, we want help to be this much because the number of students are increasing. The number of students is increasing. We want this much for scholarship. That probably did not happen sufficiently. So that is the reason why I am very, very excited that we have this youth parliament, so that going forward, you start getting involved at the right time when you can make a difference. Because where we have reached, you may make a difference still, but it will be minimal. So that is how the process runs to budget policy statement in February, and then now we come up with budget estimates. What Treasury does is simply to put together what has been agreed on at the sectoral meetings and then submit the document to the Treasury, to the National Assembly. And I want to conclude by saying that the problem is, how many of us know the difference between the budget estimates and finance bill? You hear many people saying, in this budget, they have increased the cost of bread. Budget can never increase cost of bread. What can increase the cost of bread is the finance bill. And
yeah,
these are totally different.
It should be.
I have my fears it is not. So the budget estimates are different from finance bill. I think that is also something that we need to break down for people to understand. And then we will move forward even to discussing what is it that is in this budget in terms of various, people, targeted provisions, allocations in this budget. Because budget, my understanding, budget is a nation building tool. Budget should be a cohesion document. Budget should help us to address the regional disparities. Budget should be responsive to all of us. Like, for example, if you are coming, even under health alone, our needs and requirements are totally different. I will tell you that the problems that people in Nyanza face in terms of health, completely, a lot of it is different from the people from northern Kenya. If you go to Nyanza, malaria is such a serious matter. It is not in some areas. Some areas you may find cancer is not a serious matter. HIV is not a serious matter. That is why we have statistics compiled by Kenya National Bureau of Statistics to determine how then we should allocate resources. Once you have come up with such information, how then do we direct the resources to address our national concern? Final comments. Something also that I wanted to point out at this point is, what is the value of security? In an economy, what is the value of security in our budget process? I hear many people say, you put too much money in security. Are we at war? What is it? Why is it that we provide so much money? Right now, we have provided 425 billion to security, almost more than the allocation, half of the allocation we have provided for education, which is 701 billion. But let me tell you, you are only able to enjoy the benefits and your education in an environment that is secure and peaceful. The economy can only grow in an environment that is secure and peaceful. Tourist numbers can only be realized in an economy that is secure and peaceful. Direct foreign investment can only thrive and create employment opportunities to our young generation in a secure and peaceful environment. Right now, if we don't fight Al-Shabaab in Somalia, we will fight them on our soil. And that would destroy our economy in a day. Remember what happened to Dusit, what has been happening at the coast. And if they target just one spot, tourist spot, it will take years again to rebuild. And therefore, so long as we are reasonably managing the resources that we put in security, we should not complain about allocation to security. We can only complain about how effective and efficient are the allocations used under the security docket. I hope I have addressed a little bit what you asked me.
Yes.
You know, politicians, you can go off rail. You should bring me back.
All right.
If you see me veering off.
I am doing that just now.
Yes.
I believe your right mic is the one that is working. The left one you can give to Muher. Just quickly, you feel free to, of course, tweet about this event. Anything interesting that the CS says that you feel that you need to share. The hashtag to use one more time is Youth Parliament KE. So get tweeting as well. I can't find myself saying X for some reason. I still call it Twitter. How many of you are like me?
I'm very much like you.
All right. So, but as yes, let's now talk where we are at. Finance Bill 2025. What does it have for we young people? And how is it going to complicate our life or make it easier?
Finance Bill 2025, actually Finance Bill is a yearly bill. It's not a financial year bill. So Finance Bill 2025. Let me start by saying that learning from what happened last year and borrowing from our national tax policy and medium-term debt strategy, the government took a conscious decision when we were coming up with this finance bill, even after listening to Kenyans. Again here, also we got presentation from Kenyans in different ways. A lot of us sent memoranda to us, both physically and even digitally.
Yeah.
And a lot of us presented themselves physically, again, to canvass their issues. Something that we noticed is that Kenyans don't want higher tax rates. So that is the bottom line. Number two is that as a country we are agreeing that we need a stable, predictable, certain tax regime. Now that then informed the preparation of our finance bill. That this finance bill has no major adjustments in tax rates. That we are not really using this finance bill to raise more revenue in terms of additional or varied tax system or tax rates. So that is the bottom line. And so before muanguke nae na hii budget yangu, hii finance bill yangu, vile mlianguka na ile ingine, I want you to take your time and just understand what is in it.
Yeah.
And it is a very good question that you have asked. What we have done with this finance bill is simply to make tax system more efficient, to streamline it. Tax administration, that is what it is dealing with. There have been a lot of ambiguities and contradictions in our tax laws. And by the way, finance bill is an omnibus bill. It affects or tries to amend various pieces of legislation. We have the Income Tax Act, which is an act of parliament. We have Value Added Tax Act. We have Exercise Duties Tax Act. We also have miscellaneous fees and levies, and we have tax procedures. All these are being amended in a particular way so that we bring clarity, so that we clearly, where there is ambiguity, we make it more clear. So that is one. Number two, we are also targeting a problem that we have identified in our system, which is called tax expenditure. Tax expenditure, simply, you can use a simple terminology and call it tax refunds. A lot of business people, after paying value-added tax and other, then they claim tax refunds from Kenya Revenue Authority, those who are exporting goods, or those who are producing or selling essential commodities. So a lot of these goods which are essential or exported are zero rated. Some are also exempt. There is a difference in those two terminologies, which many people who are not accountants or finance experts don't or have not understood or appreciated. So zero-rated commodities are commodities that are taxed but at 0%. But the beauty with zero-rated commodities is that we have two taxes. There is what we call input tax and output tax under VAT.
Yeah.
Now, under input tax, it means when you are buying whatever you are selling, or when you are buying the raw materials to produce, you pay tax. You pay VAT. And then, when you are selling, you also pay VAT. You also receive on behalf of government VAT. Now, the one you are receiving is output. The one you paid is input. Now, for zero-rated commodities, you are allowed to claim the tax that you paid. You are going to charge zero, but you claim any tax that you paid. But on exempts, you don't charge and you don't claim. And therefore, theoretically, exempt commodities should be slightly more expensive than zero-rated. That is why we try to push essential commodities to zero rating. However, we have since determined the following: that one, the benefits of zero rating, a number of times the business people don't pass to the ultimate consumer. So you end up profiting people who are already doing well, if I may use that word. Number two, we are receiving a lot of fictitious and fake claims from business people, the tax cheats. This example has been given a number of times, that people who bake bread prefer employing more accountants than the bakers, because really they don't need to bake bread. They just need to get smart accountants, maybe like Mbadi, to sit and cook figures and take to KRA, and they get claims paid back. But who is paying that? It is you who is struggling, who doesn't have that privilege of going to KRA to claim. From your meager salary, and allow me to use that, not that I really think that you earn meager salaries. It could be true, it could not be true. But whether you are earning reasonable salary, that is your income for your sweat. It is payment for your labor. You pay that tax, and that tax, instead of being used to provide education to our children, to provide health services to you, to give you better roads and give you water to drink, that tax is used to refund someone who does not have to get that money. Someone who is going to get, who gets that money and invests it for his children and grandchildren. So what I am saying is, how do we minimize that? So this bill is trying to reduce the number of zero-rated commodities. What we are saying is that these essential commodities, let's put them under exempt. And how do we cushion for higher prices in the event that now they are not zero-rated? We have decided that most of the raw materials going into those products are also zero-rated, are also exempt, so that you don't get the input prices are low and then output prices are low. So just give me 1 or 2 more minutes. And just to say, on the same. Yes. There was report that in fact you're targeting some of the NGOs, and this will make their finances condense on the same in terms of zero rating and exempt. Is there anything like that in the bill? No, I don't see anything like that in the bill. You know, they have been creating so many bills for me. And actually, that is the essence of this engagement also. You know, we have access to information under Article 35. But also, you are required to be factual. Yeah, when you get that access. And so, that same Article 35 provides that if I am misrepresented and misreported, I have also a right for deletion of the misreporting and misrepresentation. And by the way, I can also take you to court and charge you for misreporting me and misrepresenting me. But before I go that route, we need to engage to get the correct bill. The correct bill, my bill, does not have some of those things. Like they were saying that I'm going to tax the newborn babies. Those are not, that is not my finance bill. That is finance bill of other people.
Yeah.
But the finance bill of the Republic of Kenya,
Yeah.
which is in the National Assembly, has now such provisions.
Okay.
In fact, what we have in that finance bill, a lot of it are also very good. Some of you are in the private sector, aren't you? Today, if your employer provides some allowance to you, in terms of meal allowance, beyond 2,000 you are taxed. I don't know whether you knew that. Beyond 2,000, if your employer gives you more than 2,000, you are supposed to be taxed on that. At the highest level, 35%. However, public servants, SRC has been raising that up. This one of private sector was set more than 8 years ago. We are saying we are moving that from 2,000 to 10,000. We are also saying that if you get gratuity, you work for 5 years, and you are entitled to gratuity or pension, gratuity at 31% of your basic salary for every year worked. You remember how, I know how your employment letters are drafted. Yeah? For every year worked, you get 31%. Yeah, that 31% when you get it at the end of the term, that contract period. Now it is not going to be taxed. It used to be attracting tax. We amended it in December, but the way it was captured, it was like it was only addressing public service schemes. Now we are saying any scheme, whether private or public, you are supposed to enjoy your retirement benefit or gratuity in total gross as you live. That is another thing. And for you in the digital space, so we have reduced the digital assets tax. Yeah, we have reduced it from 3% to 1.5% to conform to turnover tax.
Yeah.
So that there is no discrimination. That is also here. Okay? I can leave it there. We can discuss or debate others as we move forward.
The question of VAT exemptions. In terms of affordable housing, hospital constructions and things like that.
Yes.
What is going on there?
What is going on there is that some of these provisions have been in our laws and they don't make sense. We have been exempting affordable housing, or those who are constructing affordable housing, from paying VAT. What is it that we were exempting them from paying VAT? For affordable housing, for example, materials used in construction, like cement, like steel, etc. Now, one, has this achieved its intended purpose? The answer is no. That is why government is getting involved in affordable housing, because if this achieved its objective, we would not even have public sector involvement in this. We would be having affordable houses all over the place. But most important is the abuse. If today Mbadi registers that I am putting up affordable housing in Ngara, and so I enjoy exemption of the materials used, cement, steel, how will the government ensure that when I buy that cement and steel VAT free or without paying VAT, that cement will land in Ngara and not in a commercial building in Karen? Is it possible? So that is why we are saying some of these exemptions don't achieve the intended purpose. We are just allowing tax leakages, and there is someone bearing that cost. There is no cost without someone bearing it. And the person bearing that cost is the other Kenyan, who is not privileged enough to cheat, who is paying and sweating and paying tax as should be done. Even hostels, you are constructing specialized, they say specialized hostel. I think it was a time maybe we wanted to encourage people to come and invest in some specialized hostel like cancer and the rest.
Yeah.
First of all, how many specialized hostels have been put in the Republic of Kenya? You will find very few, if not none. Two, what guarantee do we have that that cement is going to go to that hospital for the construction? So we are saying some of these advantages have just been abused, and they have no meaning. They are just causing us to waste or leading to revenue leakages. That is why we are removing them.
All right. I hope Shem is ready for his session. But before we come to Shem, I'm wondering, last year the president was targeting to collect over 390-something billion shillings with the finance bill. Correct. We didn't make that. This year you're saying we're not targeting to grow our revenue, not targeting to collect as much money through this finance bill, but clean up. I believe last week or so you said it's around 25 to 30 billion shillings you collect with this current finance bill. The worrying question becomes, how then are we financing our budget? Are we collecting enough revenue, or are we going to knock on the doors of the IMF, the World Banks, China's and UAE's of this world to finance our budget?
Thank you. That's a good question. Last year, we had actually projected to collect about 2,912 billion before the Gen Z decided to take us back to where we should be probably. So finally, we revised that down. The first supplementary put it at 2,635 billion. Then that was revised down to 2,580. That is what is in the supplementary too. But I will tell you for a fact that that figure is still going to go down to about 480 billion. I think that is what we have as a projected revenue for this year, the year ending. Yeah, because we have now looked, we have now assessed the performance of revenue up to now. We have only 1.5 months left, so we can comfortably say this is what we are going to get. So under collection. If you look at our revenue projection, the figures that I took to Parliament on 30th of April, we have been revising those figures downwards. We are more realistic now in our revenue projection. The earlier projection with the budget review and outlook paper of last year, we had projected to collect 3,018 billion. I don't know how that was going to be collected. That we brought down to 2,835 billion. Then we brought it, now our projection for ordinary revenue is 2,757. Now, we believe that this is achievable. Why? 3 reasons. Number one, well, the tax laws that amendment this finance bill, we may raise around 25 to 30 billion more because of this sealing the loopholes on tax expenditure and also streamlining the administration of taxes. But 2 other reasons. One is that we are making Kenya Revenue Authority more efficient in tax collection by bringing more IT into the space, and the visibility of taxpayers is going to be enhanced. We are going to see most of you who have not been paying taxes, not those who have been paying taxes. We'll be seeing you and will not be harassing you. Once we see you, we'll just tell you, you know, we have seen you. You have this tax here, you have not paid this rental tax, please bring it. Then you'll just bring it. Those of us on personal income tax, PIT. So the visibility will be better. Number 3, economy will also generally grow. We project an economic growth of about 5.3%. So with a higher GDP, definitely you will collect more. Now when the economy grows, the reason why we think the economy will grow better is look at what is happening in the weather. The weather has been very kind to us. So the harvesting is going to be better. Agriculture is going to do well, which is one of our leading drivers to economic growth. We are also looking at the financial sector is even deepening better. And that is why some of the provisions in this finance bill, we are trying to give impetus to the financial sector. We want Nairobi to be to be a financial hub. We are also looking at tourism and the such numbers and services industry. Things are not looking bad. But importantly, construction has not been doing very well. But there are certain things that we have done. One of them, the interest rates have been going down, especially the rate at which the government borrowing. When I came into office, we were borrowing at 16%. Government papers, 15%. Right now, it's below 9%. It's going to 8 for 91-day treasury. So it's no longer a very lucrative. Money market is not as it used to be. Yeah, so I know some of you who have been in money market, you are wondering what has Mbadi done. It is better for the economy as a whole, may not be very good for an individual investing in money market. Now, with that, many more businesses, private sector will be coming in to the space to borrow money because the interest rates have started coming down. Major banks have been reducing the interest rates. But I want to also point out that besides all that with the interest rates, the construction industry has received a boost because of paying the pending bills that have been outstanding. In fact, most of the road contractors are going back to the roads. So with the construction industry coming up, because there were just 3 sectors which were not doing very well, construction, manufacturing has not been doing as we want, but it has started also showing positive signs from March. And finally, the mining sector, mining and minerals. Again, the government is putting some targeted efforts to make sure that those comes up. With that, if we get 5.something% economic growth, clearly our revenue will come up and we will be able to meet our expenditure. Of course, there is still borrowing. There's borrowing.
How much of it are you borrowing? How
much of it are we borrowing? So listen to this. The total expenditure projection is 4,239 billion. Revenue that we are collecting from ordinary revenue, that is taxes, is 2,757. You add that to the non-tax revenue or appropriation in aid, if you like, 559.9. If you like, you can round it up to 560. That gives you 3,318 billion. Then add 46 that we are going to get as grant, 46 billion. That will still leave you with about 877 as budget deficit. That budget deficit, we intend to get 284 billion from external borrowing, and the remaining 592 from domestic borrowing. Something to note, to be a little happy about, is that that is less than what we have borrowed domestically this financial year, which is now going to about 680.
Does that concern you, thinking in the sense that over the next few years, up to 2030, I believe, we have a lot of loans to pay in terms of Eurobonds and the likes, and are maturing over the next few years? Does that worry you, the fact that even now, we're not yet at a place where we can almost cap our borrowing to less than 100?
It concerns me, but it doesn't worry me, and I will explain. It concerns me because I know we are not yet at a point where I am saying comfortably that our debt sustainability is guaranteed. Any economy will borrow. There is no economy that can progress without borrowing. Even the world's leading economies are the biggest borrowers as well. So we'll continue to borrow because we still want to invest in social services and infrastructure and all these other things. For development, human capital, we'll still borrow. Health, education. But we must borrow responsibly, and we must borrow within our fiscal framework. Therefore, it concerns me. And from now to 2030, as you said, actually 2032, we are at a point when a lot of these debts are maturing for payment. However, it doesn't worry me because we have a strategy. When you have a strategy, you don't get worried. And the strategy is simple too. Number one, we are consistently reducing budget deficit. That is the best way to deal with debt sustainability. And we started reducing budget deficit a while back, not just when I came into office. Remember, in 2020, 2021, our budget deficit was 8.3% of GDP. The following year, it came down, 2021-22, it came down to 6.2%. 2022-23, it came down to 5.6%. 23-24, it came down to 5.3%. This year, that is ending, I see us at 5.2. We would have done better if...
Someone
Sorry, I don't know whether just... So this year we would have done better if all the tax revenue measures were actualized. But that is now water under the bridge. But we have done well because it is below that what the budget deficit was for last financial year. Now, we are progressing.
Before you explain so much, for someone who doesn't know what budget deficit is, could you just explain what it is?
Budget deficit is simply the total expenditure, how much we want to spend as a country.
Could we use a household example? My household, a home?
Yes, so Kenya is a household.
Yes.
Kenya is spending money to buy whatever or to do whatever they want to do. One of them is to pay loans. Another one is to make sure that we provide education, health, infrastructure, water, etc. to people. So we spend money on security. All that money that we intend to spend as a country is called total expenditure, both recurrent and development, including salaries that we pay to our public servants. Now from there, you subtract the revenue that we generate locally, domestically. And domestic revenue includes the taxes on you and us. All these taxes, various of them, you know, many taxes that I've mentioned. All that gives you what we call ordinary revenue, all those taxes. Then you add on to it what we call appropriation in aid, or what we call the ministerial appropriation in aid. The other name is non-tax revenue. When you go to get passport, you are charged. When you go to get this, you are charged. Those ones we don't call taxes. So that one we call non-tax revenue. You add on to the tax revenue. Then the last one is if there is a country out there or any institution or whatever which decides to give us grants. Grant is simply support which is not paid back. So if you add all that and you subtract from your expenditure, what remains is the deficit. I hope now I'm clear. And that deficit is only financed through loans. So deficits are financed through loan. Grant, you get deficit after factoring in grant. So that deficit, which is financed through loan, can be external loan or domestic loan. And that is why I gave you the figures of external loan, 284 billion, domestic 592.
All right. If you're watching us online and you have any questions, keep them coming. We're seeing them. We'll be asking them in just a moment. As well as if you have any questions from what you've had so far, just jot it down. We're coming to you in just a moment. CS, I want you to hear some few things and then you can correct us.